Your foot and ankle are made up of a highly complex system of muscles, tendons, and ligaments, all working together to keep you strong, balanced, and moving with precision. In dance, or really in any movement-heavy activity, this system is under constant demand. A little imbalance, weakness, or overuse in one area can ripple outward and lead to injury. This is why it's not just about stretching or doing a few calf raises or releves. It's about understanding how each of these parts contributes to movement and training them in smart, targeted ways. Your feet do a lot more than you think. Take good care of them, and they will support you literally every step of the way. Welcome to the Ballet Science Podcast, where we bring science into the studio to help dancers of all ages and abilities give their best performance both on stage and off, and reveal how the science of ballet is beneficial for everyone who moves. I'm Caroline Simpkins, a former ballerina turned researcher, and today we're continuing our exploration of the anatomy of the foot and ankle, this time focusing on the muscles, ligaments, and tendons. Throughout this episode, I'll be referencing a physical model of the foot and the ankle that I have with me here in the studio. So if you are tuning in on an audio platform, I highly recommend checking out the video version so you can follow along visually and get the most out of today's discussion. In our last episode, we covered the bones that form the structural base of the foot. But bones alone don't move us. Movement and control comes from the intricate network of soft tissues that connect, stabilize, and activate the foot and ankle. For dancers, understanding these structures isn't just academic, it's critical for developing strength, achieving proper alignment, and preventing injury. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and how do they differ? Muscles are the tissues that contract to create movement. They're the active players in motion. When a skeletal muscle contracts, it pulls on a bone to create movement at a joint. Muscles can be large and powerful, like the two main muscles in your calf, the Gastrocnemius and the Soleus, that help you rise onto releve and jump off the floor. Or muscles can be small and subtle, like the intrinsic foot muscles that help stabilize your toes during a balance on demi-pointe. But muscles don't act alone. They need something to transfer the force that they can generate to the bones. That's where tendons come in. Tendons are the strong cord-like structures that connect muscles to bones. Tendons are built to handle high tension and repetitive use, but in dance, they're often pushed to their limits, which is why tendon injuries like tendinitis or tendinosis are so common. Now, ligaments are different. They don't move bones, they stabilize them. Ligaments are tough, fibrous bands that connect bone to bone, helping to stabilize joints and prevent excessive movement. In the ankle, for example, you have several important ligaments which help keep your ankle from rolling. Each of these tissues plays a unique role, but they work as a team. And in ballet, where demands on the foot and ankle are so extreme, the team needs to be both strong and finely tuned. Among those larger, or what we call extrinsic muscles, again, those are ones that begin outside of the foot, but then act on the foot. The calf muscles are probably the most familiar. The gastrocnemius and soleus muscles together form what we know as the calf. These two muscles merge into the Achilles tendon, which connects to the heel bone. This group plays a major role in pointing the foot and is essential for actions like pushing off of the ground, jumping, or rising onto the toes. All right, so let's break this all down one step at a time, starting with some of the big movers in the lower leg. First, we have the gastrocnemius. You might know it as the big bulging part of your calf muscle. It has two parts, or bellies, as we call them, and it spans both your knee and your ankle joints. Because of that, it's a major player in movements that involve jumping or pushing off the ground. The gastrocnemius is built for power and speed, kind of like your body's built-in spring. Just beneath the gastrocnemius lies the soleus, a deeper calf muscle that only crosses the ankle joint and not the knee. So the soleus is more about endurance and stability than explosive power. This muscle helps you hold steady when you're standing still or balancing, whether you're on flat feet or up on your toes. It works hand in hand with the gastrocnemius, but think of it more as the stabilizer in the background. Moving down the outside of the lower leg, we find the peroneal muscles, specifically the peroneus longus and brevis. These help turn the foot outward to keep your ankles stable from side to side. They're especially important when you're changing directions quickly or trying not to roll your ankle during fast movements. Weakness in these muscles can increase the risk of ankle sprains, something dancers and athletes in general are all too familiar with. Now let's look at the front of the lower leg where the tibialis anterior lives. This muscle helps lift the foot upward in a movement we call dorsiflexion. In movement-heavy activities like dance, this muscle is key for smooth landings and foot control. If it's overworked or undertrained, it can lead to that dreaded pain known as shin splints. Shin splints are basically your body waving a red flag saying, "Hey, I need a break." They often show up when you ramp up your activity too quickly, especially with lots of jumping, poor landing mechanics, or very hard floors. Strengthening the tibialis anterior and easing into training can help keep that pain at bay. Now let's move into the foot itself, where things get a little more intricate. Within the foot, we have muscles called intrinsic foot muscles. These are tiny muscles located entirely within the foot. They don't cross the ankle like other muscles, but they're critical for controlling your arch, your toes, and your balance. Basically, all the fine-tuned movements that make a foot functional, agile, and strong. In dance especially, these muscles help to lift the arch of the foot, spread the toes, and give control during tricky positions like balancing on pointe or landing from a jump. When these muscles are weak, problems like fallen arches, toe cramping, or even hip and knee compensation can happen. But when they're strong, you get better stability, cleaner landings, and less risk of injury. Targeted exercises like toe spreading, arch lifts, and barefoot balancing can help work wonders for building up these intrinsic foot muscles. Next, let's talk about tendons, the connective tissues that link muscle to bone. These act like transmission cables, carrying the force your muscles generate so your joints can move efficiently. The biggest one here is the Achilles tendon. It connects your calf muscle to your heel, and it is involved in nearly every push-off, jump, or point movement. Because it's used so much, it's also prone to overuse injuries. That's why balanced training along with rest and recovery is so essential. Another key player is the flexor hallucis longus, or FHL tendon. Quite a mouthful, but it basically goes underneath your foot and helps you to point your big toe. It's especially important in point work, helping you stay balanced on a tiny surface area. Overuse of the FHL tendon can lead to what's often called dancer's tendinitis, a painful but common condition. So that was a flexor tendon we just discussed, and now we have some extensor tendons that are on top of the foot, which help to lift and extend the toes in the other direction. These are the ones you often see popping up during stretches or while pointing and flexing your feet. They contribute to foot shape and control, but again, their function matters much more than how they look. Now finally, let's talk about ligaments, the internal seatbelts of the body that connect bone to bone and keep your joints from going too far in the wrong direction. So if you look at the ankle on the outer side, we have the lateral ligament complex, which includes 3 major ligaments. The most commonly injured one is the anterior talofibular ligament, or ATFL for short, which is located right around this area here. This is usually the culprit in those classic rolled ankle sprains. If we then turn to the inner side of the ankle, there's the deltoid ligament, which is located in this region here. It's stronger and less often injured than the ATFL, but when it is, it usually means a more serious injury, sometimes involving bones and not just soft tissue. And lastly, if we look Under the foot, we have the plantar fascia, a thick band of tissue that supports your arch and acts like a shock absorber. If the plantar fascia becomes inflamed, you might develop plantar fasciitis, which can feel like a stabbing pain in your heel, especially during your first steps in the morning. So, what is the big picture here? Your foot and ankle are made up of a highly complex system of muscles, tendons, and ligaments, all working together to keep you strong, balanced, and moving with precision. In dance, or really in any movement heavy activity, this system is under constant demand. A little imbalance, weakness, or overuse in one area can ripple outward and lead to injury. This is why it's not just about stretching or doing a few calf raises or releves. It's about understanding how each of these parts contributes to movement and training them in smart, targeted ways, paying attention to control, load management, and early signs of fatigue. So the takeaway is this: your feet do a lot more than you think. Take good care of them, and they will support you literally every step of the way. Thank you for joining me today for the Ballet Science Podcast. Whether you are a dancer, teacher, student, or simply curious about the mechanics behind movement, I appreciate you being here today. Each week, we'll explore the intersection of science and ballet, from injury prevention and biomechanics to nutrition, mindset, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow this podcast, leave a review, and share it with your friends and dance community. If there are specific topics you'd like to hear about in future episodes, feel free to share them in the comments below. You can also follow Ballet Science on social media and visit our website at ballet.science for additional information. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Ballet Science Podcast.